That's bad.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get back to work on the S10 here. So for anybody who hasn't been keeping up with the build series, here's a quick recap. This is my 1986 S10 that we're doing a real cheap thrills build with. Back in 1994, Hot Rod Magazine did a project car called the Cheap Thrills Dart, where they were trying to go 12s for $2,000. We're trying to do the same thing in 2022, 28 years later. So we've got a $1,000 S10, Junkyard 6.0, $140 eBay cam kit, $300 Power Glide, $100 JEGS converter. We're really nickel and diming ourselves. So the whole goal of this thing is to go fast for cheap. Now we did get lucky. Our S10 came with a drag pack on it. It's got 26 10.5 slicks on the back and some somewhat skinny tires up front, manual brakes, manual steering, so we got the good stuff. I am kind of debating on pulling the engine back out. One, to massage the firewall a little bit more room. And if I could find a way to get this engine and trans all out in one, then I can put the other bell housing bolts in without cutting the floor. A lot of people that said, yeah, just cut holes in the floor, which I agree with. I'll probably end up doing because I don't think I'm going to be able to get this thing all out in one piece because it is snug. It has to basically come straight up and then forward, but transmissions to the tunnel, engine can't rotate because it's hitting the firewall and the cross member. So don't really see that happening. So yeah, I definitely think that we're going to have to cut at least one hole in the floor. And then I think I'm going to have to cut the ear off the transmission a little bit more. It was cut once before, but it's still pretty snug. And then because we are still going EFI, I have to replace the throttle cable. We could probably modify that to work. But this is one that I've used on a bunch of my swaps. This is out of like a 2000 Silverado. Got this off eBay for 20 bucks. It's never let me down. I've used that on the RX-7. It's what we have in Jack right now. Used it on that white box Chevy. Those things work great and they're super cheap. And they work out perfect when you're using like a stock style intake manifold. With the Holley high rim, you either have to flip the throttle body or get a longer cable. So this worked out great. I used to have two of them hanging up on my bench there, but ended up using them. So gonna get that installed today, just sit it out of the way. And then you can see here I was trying to test fit some stuff for the exhaust system. I think I could cut a slot in the stock manifolds and make them work, but there's a guy not too far away with some LS Swap S10 shorty headers that he doesn't want too much for. So once he gets out of work, I'm gonna see if I can go scoop those up and we can at least get some headers on it. Hopefully there's enough room in the budget when we're done to like run to AutoZone or something and pick up some piping to at least run the exhaust behind the door. And then I was able to trade our drive-by-wire intake manifold for an older drive-by cable one with the two fuel lines. He gave me this whole deal. He said, F it, I don't need it, you can have it. So this is perfect. You can pop these off. Has the built-in fuel pressure regulator right there. Vacuum referenced, which is sweet. Don't really need, but sweet. The only way it could have been better is if the throttle cable had stayed with it. And luckily, this one came off a 6.0, so we don't even have to swap the injectors. Sweet. I was debating on just cutting down this harness and using that, save a few bucks, but I'll get to that in the next video, I think, or one of the coming up videos, that we're not going to have to do that. It's crusty and it's rusty, but it's ours. So I'm going to get everything stripped off this, and we'll get this tossed on the motor, make sure everything clears, which it should. Yeah, part of me was slightly concerned about the firewall right there, but I think we should be good. So yeah, I'm gonna get this thing stripped, whop, 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 and get us out on the motor. All right, got all the wiring and everything off. It really wasn't too bad aside from the fuel lines, because the like tools to undo these are over at my dad's, so I had to man them off with some screwdrivers, which really wasn't too bad. The return line I ended up just forcing off and bending that thing out of the way. But yeah, those tools are over at my dad's because most of the stuff I do here is all AN lines, so I didn't need them. And that is the perfect segue into the fuel lines that we're going to be running. Picked these up off eBay for $10 for the pair, or was it $9? $9 or $10. And you can see the bags, made in China. One of the few times I'm going to brag about something made in China. But yeah, they will just pop on like that. Now these are just 6AN line because this is just an NA 60. Now my initial plan was to just run down to the parts store and get some like high pressure fuel line off their shelf. They wanted $5 a foot for the high pressure stuff. And initially I was just going to grab 20 feet of it so that I could route things kind of nice, make sure I had plenty, which I think this thing would really only need 18 or so feet, maybe 15. But when they said $5 a foot, I was like, sheesh. And then I'd still have to get hose clamps because I don't have any leftover hose clamps off this motor to use, and things like that. But on Amazon, you can buy an AN like 20-foot kit that comes with a bunch of fittings. So I'm not saying that just running normal high pressure hose with the clamp couldn't be cheaper, but the hose that I prefer to run for fuel injection stuff, I could have got the cheap like carburetor style low pressure fuel line, and that stuff surprisingly will hold up to like 60 pounds of fuel pressure, but it always feels like a gamble, and I didn't want to do it. Something's not right. There we go. Perfect. It fits phenomenally. And that is already blocked off for the line to the brake booster. This, yeah, we should have room for the map sensor plug there. Perfect. And actually, we could have got away with a lot shorter throttle cable, but it was cheap and it'll work. So let's move stuff, see if it's going to clear the hood, which I think it will, but I don't know. But I know you guys are just as curious as I am, because a lot of people have said that they want to do this. Okay, I don't want to actually... What's up, spider? Ah, I missed him. Yeah, we got tons of room. The hood's not down all the way, but we still have like 2 inches above everything. So that's going to work perfect. So I need to get the vacuum line, wherever it is, to run from here to there to plug those off. We don't be needing any vacuum leaks. Now, I suppose we could get this thing lifted up and drop the fuel tank out of it. Hopefully that's empty, because if it's not, those things are a pain in the ass to wrestle out. Actually, I should be able to use the tranny jack, so it might not be too bad. Yeah, we'll get this thing lifted up, get the tank dropped out of it, and then I think we can start running the lines. Oh, before I lift it up, I want to check the drive shaft to see what the stick out is at ride height. Or approximate ride height. Yeah, that's... Oh, cap fell off again. That's probably fine. We're definitely gonna have to do something about that drive shaft. Frick! That I was really counting on working. So that might end up screwing things up a little bit, actually. That sucks. I know that I can just get a longer yoke for it, but I'm really not a fan of doing that. Because then, like, the whipping all the way at the back. I know there's a lot of people who say that doesn't matter, but I know that there's also a lot of people who say that that starts to tear things up. It would almost be nice to put a cell on this thing, but ooh, you're not. No, I think it's empty. Okay. So how did I do this on the Cyclone? Obviously the rear strap is just that bolt, but I think on the Cyclone I undid it from out here and moved the whole thing over and dropped it. What the heck? Was that welded together? No, okay, it's just a bead. I was gonna say. Oh, also, one of the videos I mentioned putting lift blocks in, or I guess drop blocks, to lower the rear of it, and someone commented saying to just get drop hangers. Mildly difficult to do, but I'll look into it. Where is my penetrating blaster? There it is. Ooh, you're light. This drive shaft is about to clonk me on the head. Alright. Now we let this thing soak for a little bit. And I think while we're doing that, yeah, I'm gonna have to notch this ear off a little bit closer and cut like up through here more on this. Hopefully that's enough room. It looks kind of tight, but I don't know. We'll see once I get the headers. And then we can see how well the shifter cable worked out. And then for all the people who were saying the shifter was moving too much, when I say those self-tappers were flimsy, 2 of them broke already, just from wiggling it back and forth. So it's like once everything's bolted down, I don't think it's gonna move. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I kind of think that bolts with washers on each corner are going to be stronger than these flimsy little self-tappers. I don't know, we'll see. But it actually worked out perfect. Like, this is the best bend that's ever been on this cable. So I got to get the end back on it and the little horseshoe clip here to lock it in place. But that's all good. Alright, are you done soaking yet? Probably not. I got a feeling as soon as I zap this thing, the nut in there is going to start turning. Alright, got the tank down. It really wasn't too bad. Just disconnected those at the tank, popped them off. Getting this one back on is probably going to suck, but we'll deal with that when we get there. And I'm sure that a lot of people were wondering why I didn't just replace this small section with high pressure stuff and where it goes through the front of the frame. Could have just ran a few feet of that up to the intake. I don't necessarily trust this. It's pretty dang beat, and that's, we know where it is. It's pretty dang rotted. Like, actually right here, looks like any second there could be a hole through there. So I don't entirely trust it, so I feel like I would have had to replace it anyway. I suppose what I could have done is replaced it with like steel brake hose and ran it on the inside of the frame rail instead of through it. That probably would have worked, you know, hindsight, I guess. So, just going to cut these, which is not easy to do with one hand. Woohoo! Woohoo! Whoa! Fricked me out a little bit. Alright, so I didn't have to drop the tank completely out of the truck. I probably could have replaced it when it was up in there, kind of dangling. But it just makes it easier this way. Plus I can blow things off and make sure it's all clean in the gas. It smells kind of gassy, I suppose. I just hope the inside of the tank isn't all rusty. Because if it is, then I do not want to deal with cleaning this out. Because like on the RX-7, I battled for months, it seemed, trying to get that thing clean enough to where it would work, and it was never happy. So if it comes down to it, I'll spend the like $80 for an eBay fuel cell and throw it up in the bed. So I'm gonna Yeah, I'm going to blow all this off with the air gun real quick, and then we'll pop the sending unit out and put our new pump in it. You know, it almost looks like someone else has replaced this not too long ago, because that ring's in pretty clean shape. Whoa. Come on. All right, there is our pump. It's not a part number I recognize, so it must not be worth the shit. And how does the inside of the tank look? Marginal. Yeah, there's some junk in it. Kind of what I was worried about. The tank itself doesn't look very rusty though. Just look like there's a lot of junk in it. Alright, so as long as the tank's not rusty, which it doesn't look like it is, we should be able to just flush all that junk and dirt and stuff out of there. And fingers crossed it doesn't come back, because that stuff will clog up injectors real quick. And we don't exactly have a filter that we're gonna put on this thing. Probably find a spot to dump this out. I'll probably find a spot to correctly recycle old gasoline, in case the EPA is watching. And then once all of that is properly disposed of at a facility that specializes in that, then I'll probably rinse it out a few times with water, and then once with some gas that I have for the lawnmower, just something that's, you know, got a little bit of octane to it, and then we should be good. All right, time for fuel pump. So here is our stock sending unit. Ooh, and here is the pump that we're going to be putting in it. Now, this is another specialty eBay performance item. So I did what anybody working with a budget does. Got on eBay, typed in Walbro 525 fuel pump, and went with one of the cheapest ones I could find. Now, allegedly, this is a real Walbro pump. It says Made in USA on it, that you'll never be able to see. Right there, Made in USA. It has the F90000285 part number. I don't know, but check out when you see this price. You see it? 46 bucks. That's obviously before tax, but $46. This one must be like an extra performance model, needing just all the fuel flow, because it did not come with the pickup sock. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do about that yet. This one on here, I don't really know if I trust it. That's scongy, but we're gonna see if we can make it work. So theoretically, this should be pretty straightforward. Just have the power and ground here, and then connect it to the hose clamp. Find a way to set it in this bucket here, and ideally find something to use as a pickup filter. If we can't, so be it. We tried. Come on, Jesus. Good Lord. These clips do not want to come off. There we go. Now, truth be told, I don't entirely care about the sending unit itself as far as fuel level, because that will probably never work again. I'm only after this hanger. Come on. Ugh. Ow. Jeez. This stuff is slippery and cold and sharp. All stuff that you look for when you're working out in the garage. Slippery, cold, and sharp. Yeah, there we go. Alright. I'll keep this isolator on here. as long as it fits. This, it'll be pretty close. Now, here's the real snazzy part about this. These little caps that they had on it to keep junk out of it, these are what we can use on the intake to seal that up. All right, is there any way to make this work? Yeah, actually, can make that work. Yeah, all right. I'm going to try to clean this thing out with some carb cleaner or something. And then we should be able to start throwing it all together. Now, for the record, no, I do not trust this fuel pump a lot. But we're in a lucky position that right now we are naturally aspirated. So if it does go lean or something, or the fuel pump fails, we're not really gonna hurt the motor a bunch. Honestly, the thing that's probably gonna hurt the motor is when the valve springs break. So now we could splice these two together, and then this one looks like it will be our power to here. I don't really want to use that though. I would much rather have this thing plugged in and then drill a hole through the top here and run the new wires out, and then you can ground it right to the chassis and run the power right to a relay or something. That's what I'd rather do. All right, I did decide to drill a hole through the top of the sending unit so that I can run new wires out. End up going with a 14 gauge. That's going to go right to a relay, and I'm going to run a nice thick wire from a battery to the relay. Then we can have a smaller switched wire, puts less loads on things. Luckily, on this truck, there's 2 relays right here, I believe. Yep, right there, that are no longer getting used. So I'm going to steal one of those and put it at the back for our fuel pump. And then just to help make sure that these wires don't get cut, I got a little bit of silicone around the hole drying, just to act as a gasket, basically. So why did I rewire it? Basically, the ground for the fuel pump grounds right there, and then there was this ground coming off of it that was just pretty janky, and like the truck has a bunch of surface rust. I want to give the fuel pump the best chance of working as we can. Like we're cheaping out a bunch as it is, so I just want to give it its best opportunity to succeed. Like if we have any failures, I want it to be because the fuel pump is junk. I don't want it to be because of faulty wiring anywhere. So I got the sending unit and everything just sat in here. Silicone's all nice and dry, so hopefully the wires stay a-okay. Got the hose clamps off. Now I can start pulling these rubber sections of line off. There's one. Yeah. There's 2. So now I can start putting these fittings on. These are pretty trick little deals. Like the ones for the rails push on, because they're a little bit different than these, which I hope these ones work. They should. So this center section unscrews right out of it, like that, and then it will slide over this, like that, and then this last piece will thread onto the end, and that will thread onto the end, and it'll be perfectly tight. So I don't know if this is actually going to work. Yeah, it's not able to clamp it down there. I might have to make an O-ring deal to go on there so that it can really start to pinch it. Let me see what I have. So once I got the fittings on the tank for the AN lines, I was able to throw the tank back up in the truck and start running the new fuel lines. Alright, I got the lines all ran from the top of the tank outside the frame rail, so worrying about the exhaust system actually didn't matter at all. And then coming up through here, and because they're both 6AN, it's not quickly easy to tell which one's the feed and which one's the return. So I have the feed marked off with this blue tape, we'll take care of the return line first. And the wiring for the fuel system I'm going to cover in the video where I wire everything up. That way, like, all the electrical hopefully is in one video. So this one we're just doing the hard parts. I'll run this kind of up. Yeah, over like this. Look like it'll clear everything. Here, perhaps. This might be better. That way, just less of a chance of the tire getting into it. And we'll bring it up like that. This little clutch slave will keep it away from falling into the steering column or into the header or anything like that. And then I'll just put a 90-degree fitting right here. Maybe. Get chewed up. There we go. Perfect. Now I can take a piece of electrical tape, mark this off, hit it with the cutoff wheel real quick, and that one's all done. I like to tape these off because on this nylon braided hose, whenever you don't tape them off, it usually frays the end of it a bunch. So this just makes it that little bit easier. It seems to work really well with electrical tape. And just cut right in the middle of it. Now the flaw with this plan is blowing these lines out, because whenever you cut them it creates a bunch of debris that will definitely destroy injectors and clog them up and make your junk run like junk. So the correct way, ooh look, see all that just came out? The correct way would be to get it all made and then take it over to the bench and blow it out. Obviously, that's not what we're doing, because there's not a whole lot of correctness when it comes to this truck. Come on. Jeez, the thing's long. That's what she said. Well, just put that anywhere, I guess. Get over here. There we go. And then a little bit of WD-40 so those don't get chewed up. Now I need another wrench. I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put the battery in this still. Alright. Return line is done. Boom. Now we can make the feed line. Or finish making the feed line rather. And this whole deal is kind of second verse, the same as the first. So I'm gonna eyeball this one. A little bit of juice. Feels kind of weird going on. All right, there we go. All right, so there is our roughly $100, I'd say 600 horsepower capable fuel system. It has a pretty small line, which is a restriction, but the HELLCAT 525 style fuel pump, assuming that this one's good, I mean, like I said, it said made in USA. It had the TI part number and everything on it, so I think it is. That pump is capable of, on gasoline, naturally aspirated 900 horsepower. Once you add like 85 in boost, that number obviously drops a bunch. But I'm planning on running this on pump gas. I mean, it's just a stock 6.0 with a cam. No reason to do anything crazy with it. Obviously, we're naturally aspirated. So I think this fuel system, respectfully, should support 600 horsepower. So we should be all good there. And like I said, it cost about $100. I'll have the spreadsheet for everything at the end of the video. And I did notice on the last video with this, the shifter one, I forgot to put in the price of the shifter, so I corrected that. We're all good. And like I said, the wiring for the fuel pump, I'm gonna try to cover that in the one dedicated video I make for all the wiring, so that it's all in one place. But it's gonna be real simple. It's gonna be the harness that I have should have a fuel pump wire, I believe. If not, I'll just put it on like a toggle switch or something, or maybe ignition switch if that still works in this thing. And it's just going to be run through one of these relays here on the fender. So I think the next video is going to be the exhaust system if everything goes well. And then you're just going to keep trucking along on this thing. So I think we have spent a little over $3,000 so far. Our goal budget is $3,779.03 because that comes out to, in today's money, the same money that Hot Rod put into the Cheap Thrills Dart. But they had a budget of $2,000, spent less than that. So our hard budget, we do not want to spend any more than $4,000 because that's about the same 28 years later in inflation. But like I said, our goal is less than $3,800. So we're still looking good for that. I think the one thing that might bite us in the ass is the drive shaft, which, let me look over here. I have this one here that I could possibly cut down. I have to measure how long it is and see. But that's the old drive shaft out of Goldie Hawn, I believe. And then I've got that aluminum one that's way too short. So we'll see. You guys have to stick around to find out. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the build series. Dime a dozen budget build S10. Like I said, I think we're a little over $3,000 right now, which it could be done a ton cheaper. If I had just put a small block Chevy in this thing, like fixed the one out of the mid-engine S10, I think realistically I could have put this thing all together for like $1,900. But LSs are cool, right? Everybody loves LSs. Nobody hates them. So that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, clicking that bell to get the notifications. I'll see you in the next one.